Today's episode is brought to you by our new partners at Ace Hill. Go grab a can today. Welcome back to Doing Football. Tyler McKillop, Jared Hall, back to help you navigate the offseason here in fantasy football. Jared, we're 100 days away from the NFL kicking off.
It's exciting.
Less than 100.
Very exciting.
It feels so far away still, but
yeah.
Today we're going to get into some players that you should be targeting in your drafts that are with new teams this season. So in free agency, via trade, we're going to talk about some guys that we think are going to bring some fantasy value and relevance and maybe even a boost in 2021 compared to 2020. So Jared, let's get started.
All right, my guy here, one of the least sexy picks you can make, but it's James Conner. Right now, his ADP is at 104, which is in the 9th round. I just think that's way too late for him. We see what's going on in this Arizona backfield. Kenyon Drake just left, and Edmonds is there. A lot of people expect him to take a bigger role, but I'm not expecting that. I think James Conner came in to replace Kenyon Drake. And if you look at what Kenyon Drake did last year, in 2020, he put up 1,092 yards and 10 touchdowns, which that's pretty good stats, I'd say, especially if Conner is going to take a sizable portion of that. That's a lot of points he can put up. Like Kenyon Drake finishes as RB16 in PPR, RB25 in fantasy points per game. So not like he definitely wasn't a great fantasy asset, especially from where he was being drafted last year. But James Conner, he's being taken all the way back in the 9th round compared to Edmonds in the 6th round. It just seems like way too far for him to be going right now.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense because we could see Edmonds and Conner having like the same season. So why would we be taking Edmonds in the 6th when we can get Conner in the 9th when in reality I don't think you're going to get a back that's going to change your team in Chase Edmonds and even in James Conner. But if you get somebody like James Conner who can put up 1,000 yards, you said,
yeah.
Kenyon Drake did, like
1,092
in the 9th round, where you're probably working with, what other guys are you working with in the 9th round running backs wise? I'm thinking like
it's thin.
James Robinson's probably around there.
Yeah, probably. At that point, you're going to have to find guys who are just in committees and they might not get much of a workload much of the year. So
yeah,
it just like he seems like the perfect zero RB guy to take. Like if you're going to fade running back early in the draft, take him in the 9th round. He can be a decent running back too if you're stacked everywhere else. So
yeah.
And if you take a look at the goal line carries, last year Drake had the 3rd most goal line carries in the league, 21 inside the 5. Edmonds had just 1. Like, do we really expect that to change very much for Edmonds in this year? Like, Connor's going to take all those goal line carries, if not most. I'm sure Kyler Murray's there. He's going to take quite a few as well. But like his touchdown upside is just as high as Drake's was.
Yeah, and people they've been wanting to dismantle, and they've been picking holes at Cliff Kingsbury and his offensive play calling, and the fact that they haven't been going for it enough on short yard situations. And if you can tell that they're not. From the numbers there with Kenyon Drake last year, they're not willing to use Chase Edmonds in that type of role. So if they're going to look to run the ball in these short or go for it in these short distance situations, then James Conner might be the guy to do that.
For sure.
And people are going to be skeptical after the season that the Pittsburgh Steelers had in 2020 running the ball. That wasn't all in James Conner. That was the offensive line and their
worst offensive line in the league.
Exactly. So I think that you're buying low, absolutely, and people just aren't as excited about the location. But I think there's an opportunity for him because I don't think Chase Edmonds is a guy they're willing to use as a featured back. I'll get into, I think the two of us are both getting into guys that just aren't that sexy. I'm going with Sam Darnold of the Carolina Panthers. So look, there are plenty of people in the fantasy football community right now that are telling you that, why would we have any expectation that things are going to change for Sam Darnold in this new destination? He's just a bad quarterback. He's just a bad football player. A little shout out to my guy, Jeremy Roach. He's just bad at football. So he's being taken right now as the QB 33 in redraft. He's being taken behind Jared Goff, Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's being taken behind Daniel Jones, who is a lock for 2 turnovers per game. He's being taken behind Tua Tagovailoa as well. I just traded to Carolina, right? This is the first time he's playing in a competent offense with a competent coaching staff. The ascent of Matt Rule and Joe Brady in the NFL is very real. Matt Rule was coaching at a program in Baylor that was under all sorts of sanctions by the NCAA, built the program up to what was almost a college football playoff appearance in 2019. Joe Brady goes to LSU and builds one of the greatest offenses in college football history. Also was a member of the coaching staff under Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints. So I think that there's a massive opportunity here for Sam Darnold to be finally in the right situation under a competent coaching staff, and most importantly, under a competent offense with Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, Robbie Anderson he's reuniting with. The other thing I think about is the fact that, Adam Gase, look what happened with Ryan Tannehill when he left Miami and left Adam Gase. Sam Darnold is just in a great spot here with the coaching staff and the culture. That he's younger than Joe Burrow, he's younger than Drew Lock. He's still very young. I know he's been in the league for a while, but there's still room to grow with Sam Darnold.
Did you say he was quarterback 33?
Yes.
I can't believe he's going that late. That just seems way too late for a guy who's guaranteed to be the starter for the entirety of the year. And with how young he is too, he's got so much room to grow. And as you said, Adam Gase, you can't look at his career with Adam Gase and be like, oh, he's done. Because the exact same thing could happen with him as it happened to Tannehill. So as much as I love to disagree with you and just obliterate you on your takes, I can't disagree with you here. I think Sam Darnold is such a great value. I got to be looking
at something wrong with QB33, but we're going to have to talk about that after. But I guarantee you he's still, the guys I mentioned, he's definitely going after. He's definitely going after Goff. People are probably excited about Fitzpatrick getting involved with some of the guys offensively in Washington, and just the high ceiling that you could see in variance. But Bridgewater, this is the difference. Bridgewater wasn't willing to push the ball down the field, push the ball into tight windows with Joe Brady. It's an RPO style type offense. He likes to utilize the same group of weapons, but put them in a ton of different formations. Sam Darnold has played. What kind of running backs has Sam Darnold worked with in his time in New York?
Le'Veon Bell.
Best running back he worked with? Le'Veon Bell, who again, Adam Gase just goes and kills offensive players in every destination he's been to. So
look at Robbie Anderson his first year in Carolina last year.
Yeah, over 1,000 yards. I mean, I just think there's a lot of upside with Sam Darnold, and like I said, you're not going to be taking Sam Darnold and putting yourself on the line with it.
Exactly.
There are plenty of guys in front of him that I don't think are going to have the upside that Sam Darnold does. Finally, with a competent offense,
he's definitely a great back end quarterback play, especially in superflex leagues. If you take him as your quarterback too, wouldn't be too mad about that.
Yeah, I think you'd be in a good spot, because again, why would I want to take Jared Goff or Daniel Jones? Those guys don't excite me in a way that Sam Darnold does. Anyways, the two of us with some we're getting in the mud, into the dirt with these kinds of dudes for you. We're trying to grind it out and give you some guys in the back end that can help your team in the later rounds. We're getting less sexy with it with these guys, but anyways,
you have to sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how you win your drafts and win some championships. So those are two must-target players that are with new teams in 2021, and thank you for tuning in.